This is a video record of our Turner Classic Movie Cruise from December 8 to 13, 2013 on the Disney Magic. I shot no video on this trip, so all of the clips you will see were borrowed from the internet. Ours was the third TCM cruise. The first cruise was held in December of 2011. The stars on that cruise included Ernest Borgnine, Tippi Hedren, and Eva Marie Saint. The second cruise was held in January of 2013 and included Debbie Reynolds, Mickey Rooney, Arlene Dahl, Sally Ann Howe, and Norman Lloyd. To start our cruise, we flew out of LAX on the morning of Saturday, December 7th and arrived in Miami at 5:14 that same afternoon. We took a taxi from the airport to the Intercontinental Hotel where a group of rooms had been reserved for the passengers of the cruise. The hotel was located in downtown Miami, about a half a mile from the port where our ship would dock. It was close to Christmas, so the lobby was decorated accordingly. Our room was outstanding, but staying only one night did not give us much chance to appreciate it. We had not had any dinner, so after we checked in, we walked 2 blocks to a place called the Bayside Marketplace. This was like a small outdoor mall at the edge of a man-made bay with shops and restaurants. The next morning, Sunday, December 8th, we went back to the Bayside Marketplace to have breakfast and take a more thorough tour of the shops there. The morning was beautiful with blue skies and warm temperatures, which in December of 2013 was in stark contrast to the freezing cold and stormy weather in the rest of the country. As we walked around, we were very impressed by the number of large yachts docked in the inner harbor of the marketplace. On our walk back to the hotel, we caught a glimpse of our ship, the Disney Magic, which got us excited to board the ship and start this adventure. We had been told that all of the TCM guests staying at the hotel would be taken to the ship in taxis. At the appointed time, we walked downstairs and joined in a line of guests waiting their turn for one of the taxis, which were lined up to the right of this picture. As fate would have it, the 2 people who lined up right behind us were Mike and Fran Reed, a couple of film buffs from Calgary, Canada. While waiting, Mike and I started talking about classic movies and we instantly clicked. Since the cruise, Mike and Fran have become very dear friends and we see them as often as possible. After we got into our taxi, we were driven from the hotel to the cruise terminal. Inside the terminal, we checked in, got our room key, and walked through the boarding tunnel to the Disney Magic. As we walked into an area of the ship called the Atrium, they announced our name over the PA. The Atrium is on deck 4 in the middle of the ship. The Atrium was filled with Christmas decorations, oversized still pictures of the stars whom we were going to see during the cruise, and this bronze statue of a nautical Mickey Mouse. We had been told that our cabin would not be ready for a while, so we got on one of the elevators, rode up to deck 9, and had lunch in the Cabanas restaurant buffet. It was interesting that everything on the ship was Disney themed, even the hands on the elevator floor indicator. After lunch, we went back down to the 2nd floor and found our cabin, number 2104, on the left side of the ship, about 2/3 of the way from the front of the ship. Because we had booked late, we had to take a cabin with just a window, which sometimes required that we open our door for ventilation. We put our things away and met Mike and Fran in the Atrium. We all went to have our dining schedules changed so that we could all have dinner together for the entire cruise. That afternoon, they were holding a sail-away party on the upper deck, so we all went there and waited for it to start. TCM had rented the entire Disney Magic, so the only passengers on the ship were classic movie fans just like us. After we arrived, they activated the pool cover to give more people a place to stand. When all the people who were attending the party had arrived, the official TCM photographer took this picture. Can you spot Robin and me? There we are. Next you will see a series of video clips that I borrowed off the internet. The clips were shot by one of the passengers whom we never met or knew. When I previewed the first clip, I was shocked to see Robin and I front and center in the video. In the other clips, TCM host Robert Osborne makes some opening remarks, then he starts introducing the stars invited on the cruise.
We got so much planned. We got interviews, presentations. How many, by the way, have been here before? Great! That's good. We love that. And new this year? We love that too. That is great. So we have interviews, presentations, parties, live music, trivia contests, and of course great movies. So this is in alphabetical order. Among our celebrities we have the great Theodore McKell, who's Margaret O'Brien. So good to have you here, Margaret. Miss Jane Powell. I know it's hard to see. Robert Wagner. I don't kid about that. Thank you for being here. And we also have an extra treat. We have Ben's father here, Frank Mankiewicz. So Frank, we're running over with Mankiewicz's here on this cruise.
The other guests included Alex Trebek, the host of the TV show Jeopardy!, film noir historian Eddie Muller, Patrick Harrison representing the Motion Picture Academy, actress, writer, and producer Ileana Douglas, who is the granddaughter of actor Melvin Douglas, and famed makeup artist Rick Baker, whose credits include The Nutty Professor, Gorillas in the Mist, and Michael Jackson's Thriller. Lastly, they unfurled a TCM banner and blew the ship's horn to signal the start of the cruise. The party ended with live music and dancing. As we started back to the elevator, we noticed that we were able to see our hotel from the Magic. Later that afternoon, we made our way to our station for the obligatory lifeboat drill. As we waited for it to start, we saw this seaplane land near the Magic and taxi onto the dirt area next to the white buildings. After the drill, we set sail down this water channel. That night, we attended the first of 3 classic movie trivia games written and hosted by Alex Trebek. He was fabulous, very funny, and not at all like his image from the Jeopardy! TV show. The next day was Monday, December 9th. We had sailed all night and would sail all day and night. But the distance from Miami to Nassau was not great, so we sailed very, very slowly. During the day, we attended an event called Growing Up Mankiewicz with Frank and his son Ben Mankiewicz, the weekend host for the TCM channel. That night, we attended what they called the Winter Ball, where many passengers had dressed up in 1940s-style clothing in shades of red. During the ball, they had fireworks, and afterwards, I met Ben himself. The following morning, Tuesday, December 10th, we arrived at our first stop, the island of Nassau. We docked next to another of the 4 Disney ships, the Disney Dream, which is newer and bigger than the Magic. This was the first time we were able to see the back of the Magic. It was funny to see the statue of Goofy they made to look like he was painting the Disney logo on the ship. Since Robin and I had pre-booked an excursion to Nassau, we left the ship without our new friends Mike and Fran. This would be the last time that would happen. We had chosen to see a resort on Nassau called Atlantis. While some of the hotel was nice, we both felt that we would not want a vacation there. The main attraction there was a very tall water slide that was featured in the TV show Amazing Race. There was also the largest aquarium that we'd ever seen. People can even pay to go swimming in the aquarium. This was a workman who goes into the aquarium regularly to clean it. This was an amazing shot that Robin got looking at the hotel through the aquarium. One of the most interesting exhibits was the stingray experience, where people can pay to swim with small stingrays. It was also interesting to see how the rays swim in schools. Of course, Robin was thrilled to see a sea turtle exhibit. That night, Robin and I were excited to eat at the Animator's Palette restaurant. As we walked down the hallway leading to it, our excitement only grew. The walls inside were filled with video monitors showing animated movie clips and animation cells. Before we ate, the staff gave each person a paper upon which we were to draw a cartoon character. When we were finished, they collected our artwork, but we were not told what would happen to them. After dinner, they played videos on the screens around the room. On the screen closest to each table, they inserted each person's cartoon in regular Disney animation. They were even able to animate some of our artwork. At the end, they showed the names of us guest animators. By now, it was becoming more and more apparent that we had found two really great friends. After dinner, we went to our first of the star interviews. This was with Margaret O'Brien. I captured a very short video of a segment of that interview, but the video quality was so poor that I'm only able to use its audio track.
You love ships, you love to travel.
I love to. Since I was like 1 year old, I've traveled. No, I've always flown all my life because my mother was a bit of an anti-Maine. So when I finish a movie, we'd be off to some exotic place, and I've flown everywhere. But all of a sudden, in fact, I was on the Greek ship, and I flew to Africa, I got to Portugal, and couldn't get back on the plane. So I stayed in Portugal an extra week, which was beautiful, but finally I got back on, and I haven't flown since, and that was about 4 years ago.
After the interview, we walked around the top deck, and I told Mike, Fran, and Robin about what many people think was a recording goof that somehow made it onto the final audio track in the trolley song from Meet Me in St. Louis. During that song, you can hear someone say, "Hi, Judy," in the background. Since Ms. O'Brien was in that movie, I thought she should know something about that incident, so later, when I saw her relaxing in one of the ship's lounges, I went in and asked her about it. To my amazement, she said that she had never heard the story and didn't remember hearing it in the song at all. As it turns out, that night they were showing Meet Me in St. Louis on the outside movie screen, so we all waited for the trolley song and listened for "Hi, Judy." We all heard it. Here is the clip so you can judge for yourself. It happens at the end of the clip.
He tipped his hat and took the seat. He said he hoped he hadn't stepped upon my feet. He asked my name, I held my breath. I couldn't speak because he scared me half to death. Hi, Johnny. Chug, chug, chug went the motor.
What do you think? The next day was Wednesday, December 11th, an at-sea day. Since the beginning of the cruise, Robin had been going into the primary gift shop to look around. Each time there was one salesgirl that always went out of her way to be friendly with Robin. Her name was Oksana. During this day's visit, Robin asked me to get a picture of her with Oksana, which I did. Oksana was from the Ukraine. Later that day, Alex Trebek hosted the second Classic Movies trivia game. I think it was more fun than the first. Everyone had a good time. That evening, the four of us went to the Walt Disney Theater to see 1954's White Christmas with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye, which was appropriate since this was December. To cap off the evening, we went to see the Jane Powell interview. Jane Powell was born as Suzanne Lorraine Burse. When MGM hired her, they decided to change her name, but they didn't make much of an effort. They used her character's name from her first movie, Song of the Open Road, which wasn't even an MGM movie. It was made on loan out to United Artists. In the interview, Ms. Powell said that when MGM offered her a contract, they asked her if she was okay with the name Jane Powell. She wanted to say no, but didn't.
Well, let me ask you that. Why didn't you, in all sincerity, not in a funny way, but why didn't you say no? What were you afraid of? Were you afraid it would be taken away from you? Were you afraid of making people angry?
Well, I don't know. I didn't think I had a choice. I always felt that if you are employed, that you do what the employer says. And obviously, MGM had okayed the name, which I can't understand because there was Eleanor Powell, William Powell, and Dick Powell.
Right.
And I just thought it was so ridiculous doing that. Wanted my name to be Cheryl. Cheryl Powell would be all right, but just plain Jane I didn't think was exactly. I like my name Suzanne or Susan.
On Thursday, December 12th, we arrived at our second and last destination, Castaway Cay, which is a small island owned by Disney. The island is totally undeveloped except for a tiny part of it used by the Disney cruise passengers. When a ship leaves, the island is uninhabited except for a caretaker. We got off the boat after breakfast and set out to explore the island. Before we started, Robin pointed out the window of our cabin. Even on Castaway Cay there were Christmas decorations. This was our view out of our cabin window, and on the pier we saw more decorations. These are the boats they use for passengers who want to parasail or do other water sports. Here's Robin and I with a couple of local natives. Now they may look like characters you know, but they are not wearing masks and their names are Gus and Herman. The distance from the ship to the main activity areas is quite short, so people can either take this shuttle or walk if they choose. The following video clips will give you an idea of what one can expect to see on Castaway Cay. Of course, all the food is brought here from the ship, but just like on a picnic, the food always seems to taste better outdoors. Robin caught a picture of this native beach bum. Locals call him Uncle Normie, or something like that. Here he is again, probably trying to figure out a way to get on the Magic. After we had looked around and bought some souvenirs, we walked back to the ship. No more than 15 minutes later, the clouds grew dark and it started to pour. We got this shot from our cabin window. That afternoon, we set sail for Miami. That evening, we went to the third and last trivia game with Alex Trebek. We were really sorry that it had to end. Alex was unbelievably funny and obviously super knowledgeable about classic movies. After trivia, we hurried down to the atrium because we had heard that Patrick Harrison from the Motion Picture Academy was going to be there with an actual Oscar, and that he was going to allow passengers to hold and be photographed with the Oscar. What a kick! We ended the evening by going to see the interview with Robert Wagner. He really had an interesting life and had been very close to Fred Astaire since Wagner was a young boy. After the interview, we returned to our cabin and packed in preparation for our arrival the next day in Miami. This had been a fabulous cruise which had been augmented by our chance meeting with Mike and Fran. When we parted, we promised to keep in touch and at the very least see each other on all subsequent TCM cruises.